And the first mistake that absolutely crushes your charisma is speaking way too fast. And this one is so common. I've seen it in guys in my social circle, guys back in the days I went to school with, guys I've personally coached. And it is a natural response. I'm not even blaming you, because when you're in front of a girl you are really attracted to, your initial primal reaction is to just speeden up the way you talk. But what that does is it counteracts and makes it even worse, because since you're speaking faster, the girl gets even nervous because she is trying to replicate how you feel and how comfortable you are in the situation. And so because she gets nervous, you speak even faster and it just fucks up the entire conversation. So one thing you need to stop doing is to speak too fast. Now, the second thing that I've seen so many guys do, which absolutely destroys their charisma, is avoiding eye contact. And especially in the first few seconds of any interaction, especially with attractive women, you really can't allow yourself to look away. Oh, so Johnny, that means I need to always look at her. No, don't be a creep. It shouldn't be robotic. But if you can't hold eye contact within the first few 15, 30 seconds, you are signaling to her that you are nervous and you're not congruent. Because fundamentally, what you're saying when you can't look a woman in the eyes is, I don't have the balls to state my ground. I don't have the balls to show you who I am. Eye contact is one of the easiest ways for women to notice a guy who's really confident from someone who's not. Because it's something you can't fake over extended amounts of time. You can fake it for a few seconds, but it's very hard to fake for longer periods of time. Now, the third thing that is absolutely destroying your charisma, pardon my handwriting, is not telling good stories. Humans, we work in stories. This is how most politicians got to power, how a lot of entrepreneurs made their wealth, how a lot of actors got successful. We humans like to hear stories. So if you don't have appealing and interesting stories about your life, well, number one, become interesting as a person. But number two, learn how to tell good stories. Like, actually sit down one evening and for 2 hours, just write down the most interesting or most obnoxious or craziest things that happened to you in your life, and try to formulate those in a very non-normal way. And so that is really going to make you stand out from other people. It just makes you way more charismatic and way more interesting. The fourth thing that is destroying your charisma is having a weak voice. It really doesn't matter who you are, how interesting you are, how quality of a guy you are, if people can't hear you. And the amount of guys I've seen in clubs who just have a voice where you can tell the girl is like, what? Bro, if the girl has to say what for 2 or 3 times, you're not speaking loud enough. So there's really different components to your voice. Number one is the volume. Just speak louder. In any environment, I want you to speak around 20% louder. So let's say you're in the line at a Starbucks. What I want you to do is just speak a little bit louder than the environment. If you're at a very noisy nighttime setting, speak 20% louder than the given environment. Not more than that, because more than that, it just becomes weird and then you're just screaming at everybody. The second thing is your voice needs to go down towards the end of the sentence. So most people, they speak with a voice that goes up towards the end. Hey, how are you guys? Do you guys want to go here? Oh, hi, it's so nice to meet you. And so what that does, it signals that you're very validation seeking. You're basically asking for people to agree with you. Whereas when you have a voice that goes down towards the end, it is way more authoritative and much more masculine. The last thing when it comes to your voice is really the depth of your voice. Now, this is mostly genetic, but I want you also to learn how to speak from a diaphragm, which is basically how to speak from down there, because a lot of people get stuck speaking from their mouth, and this is why they can't unleash the full potential of their voice. The fifth thing is, so many guys in conversation can't shut the fuck up. They are talking way more than they're listening, especially when you're dealing with attractive women, because that's the whole point of this video. When you know how to talk to women, you know how to talk to everybody. when you talk to very attractive women, you want to be almost like a psychologist. But this actually applies to all people, not just women. You really want to make people feel listened to, because most people in this world can't do this. They don't have the skill. So when you're that one person who can just shut the fuck up, listen, you will absolutely make yourself more likable, because most people just can't do it. Now, the sixth thing is being or trying to be overly alpha. This is really happening to a lot of guys who were the nice guy in the past, and they've seen that it doesn't work. So the next thing they try is to create this bad boy alpha male persona. And in most cases, it's just really incongruent. You can tell, everybody can tell that you're faking it, you're being disingenuous, and it just makes you come across as weird and fake. And that's really the last thing you want to come across as when you're socializing and talking to people. Now, the seventh thing is having boring topics of discussion. And this is something that may sound obvious, but I always come back to this example. So back in 2016, this was in Switzerland, I went to this electric dance music festival, and I ended up talking with this chick for 1 hour about dubstep. If you were not living under a rock back in 2016, dubstep was huge. So anything Skrillex, Skrillex was really my main artist, and I was really into it. And so I just ended up talking with this chick for 1 hour about dubstep. And after 1 hour, this dude comes along. And after 5 minutes of chatting, ends up making out with her, she goes home with him. And so don't be the dubstep guy. Don't be the guy she remembers as, oh, we had a nice discussion and we talked about dubstep or web development for an hour. So many guys I see make this mistake. They think that having a long or interesting discussion with a girl means moving things further, when really it doesn't. There's zero correlation because you're not triggering emotional cues inside of her. Now, the eighth thing is not leaving any mystery. So many guys, so many people in general are extremely predictable. The girl knows every second what your next move is gonna be. The last thing you wanna do when talking to girls is unveil everything about yourself. You wanna leave some mystery. You wanna leave some unknowns. And so this is a mistake I have been doing for many years, right? I would overshare. And basically there was no more challenge because the girl knew everything about me. So this is definitely destroying your charisma, and you always want to leave some mystery. The ninth thing is being overly reactive. The way I saw this was in my best friend, because my best friend, he is a fun guy. He actually was a very nice guy, but not in the nice guy way. He was a genuinely nice guy. But one thing he did, especially when he was around very attractive girls in our social circle, is he would overly be expressive. He would laugh just in a very obnoxious way, like ha ha ha, or just like being overly reactive. And when you look at some of the most charismatic men that you know in movies, on Netflix, so let's take somebody like James Bond. You never see this guy being overly reactive. He's usually very chill. He's very composed in his emotions and his reactions. That's what you want to do. Now, I'm not saying you need to be this emotionalist Sigma male, right? Don't try to overdo this because it's going to come across as fake. But there's no reason for you to be overly reactive and just laugh all the time and display all of your emotions. There is no need for that. Now, last but not least is bragging like crazy. And I use these dollar signs because most guys, when they brag, it's either about their new car, their job, or maybe their fitness achievements. When you are bragging, when you are saying good things about you in a way that it doesn't really flow, you come across as a douche and you come across as non-confident, because the guy who is really confident in who he is doesn't need to talk about that. He has no reason to prove he's somebody, right? So you want to avoid bragging about stuff, and you want to let the girl find out about these things on her own. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you speak Spanish, right? You speak a foreign language. So instead of telling the girl, hey, and by the way, do you speak Spanish? Because I speak Spanish. It comes across as very try-hard. But let's say you're in the restaurant with her, and then you notice the waitress is Mexican, and you suddenly just have an exchange with her in Spanish, and the girl happens to notice this. That is literally 10 times more attractive than you telling her, hey, I speak Spanish. Let people find out about your achievements and who you are instead of telling them face on. Now, I hope all of this stuff helps you. This was not an extensive list, but if you like these kinds of videos, I'll try to make more of these, and I'll see you guys in the next one.